If you're studying for the GED RLA section, know that I made this video to give you some tips to help you get a better score on the GED RLA Extended Response Essay. And I hope that this video helps you learn some information that can help you pass the GED faster so you can move ahead to bigger and better things in life, like college or a better job or joining the military, whatever your goal happens to be. And I'm really grateful that you're here today watching this video, and we're starting now. First, let's talk about what you can expect in terms of prompts. On screen is a sample extended response prompt. It says analyze the arguments presented in the two speeches. In your response, develop an argument in which you explain how one position is better supported than the other. Incorporate relevant and specific evidence from both sources to support your argument. It says, remember, the better argued position is not necessarily the position with which you agree. This task should take approximately 45 minutes to complete, and we're going to look at some time management strategies here later on in the video, but I just wanted to show here that this is a sample prompt, right? And in this case, it's analyzing two different speeches. Now, here's another prompt, and in this case, it says, analyze the arguments presented in the two journal articles. Here's another example of a prompt, and this one says, analyze the arguments presented in the two guest columns. Right, so here's another prompt, and this one says analyze the arguments presented in the two emails. The next tip is to have a game plan for time management. We can break time management up into 4 different phases. There's reading, planning, writing, and editing. Know that you'll have 45 minutes to complete the essay. One strategy for time management is the balance plan. This involves 10 minutes to read and plan, 25 to write, and then 10 minutes to check and edit. There's also the reading focus plan, which gives a little more time to reading and planning. So this plan would be 15 minutes to read and plan, 25 to write, and then 5 minutes to check and edit. There's also the writing focus plan, which gives a little more time to the writing. So this plan is 10 minutes to read and plan, 30 minutes to write, and then 5 minutes to check and edit. At the end of the day, you have to do what you think is going to work best for you. Maybe you'll even want to come up with your own time management strategy. I just wanted to give you 3 plans as ideas. I recommend using the 5-paragraph essay strategy when you write your extended response essay. Now, the first paragraph is an introduction, and then the 5-paragraph essay strategy uses 3 body paragraphs, and then lastly, a conclusion. Now, my next tip is to help you ace your introduction. So let's say you're using the 5-paragraph essay strategy. Well, a good way to start is to start off that introductory paragraph with the topic sentence. And the topic sentence tells the reader what your essay is about. Next, you can identify both authors' positions. And you can do this in one sentence, or you can do it in 2 separate sentences. And lastly, I recommend ending your introductory paragraph with your own claim about which position is best supported, and you can do this in 1 sentence. Tommy, do you have any tips you'd like to share? Now, I've highlighted this last point here because it's a very important point. Your own claim about which position is best supported. And now we're going to look at 3 short writing samples here, and for each one, I'd like you to think about, does the sample state which position is best supported? So let's look at the first writing sample now. Daylight saving time is a practice of setting the clocks forward by 1 hour during the warmer months to extend evening daylight. This tradition has been adopted by many countries around the world for various reasons, and it offers several benefits to society. The question is, does the sample state which position is best supported? Well, the answer here is no, so this one doesn't. Now, the next writing sample says, daylight saving time, a practice of adjusting the clocks forward by 1 hour during the warmer months, has both pros and cons that impact society. Now, does this one state which position is best supported? Well, the answer here is no. Now, here's another writing sample, and this one says, between the 2 positions in this article, the one against daylight saving time is better supported. Although both positions are well organized and supported with several examples, The evidence supporting the view against daylight savings time is more specific and thorough. Does this sample state which position is best supported? Well, in this case, the answer is yes. Next, we're going to look at some examples of formulas for the topic sentence, and these are just to give you ideas. So the first example says both the blank and blank include positions that are supported by fact and opinion. So if you read a press release and a letter to the editor, you might say something like, both the press release and the letter to the editor include positions that are supported by fact and opinion, just to give you an example. Now, another example of a topic sentence formula is blank is a controversial issue. So if you read something about the best age to give kids a cell phone, just as an example, you might say something like, the best age to give kids a cell phone is a controversial issue. Now, another formula example is there's much debate about blank. Another one is author A has a different viewpoint than author B on blank. So you might say something like, the author of the press release has a different viewpoint than the author of the letter on whatever the topic happens to be, just to give you an example. Now, you might have heard before that you should start off your writing with an attention grabber, which is basically an interesting statement, maybe a quote or a fact or some kind of statistic meant to grab the reader's attention and hook the reader in. And if you want to do this, I say go for it. But when I looked at the example of a perfect scoring essay, the author of the perfect scoring essay didn't use an attention grabber, so it's totally up to you to decide if you want to do this or not. Now, when it comes to your body paragraphs, there's a general approach that I recommend. For each body paragraph, I recommend picking a key reason why your passage is best supported by the evidence. So since you're writing 3 body paragraphs, that would be 3 big reasons why your passage is best supported, and you can write each body paragraph about one of those key reasons. Now, a body paragraph should include a topic sentence, and then also explanation and refutation. Now, refutation is when you take facts or examples from the other passage that you thought was weaker and explain why it's weaker. One way to help improve your score is to include transition words and phrases in your writing. On screen are some examples of transition words and phrases. First, second, third, next, in addition, also, lastly, in the first place, and in the second place. To show an example, here are some transition words and phrases. So there's for example, to demonstrate, for instance, and to illustrate. Now here are some transition word and phrase examples for contrast. However, in contrast, on the other hand, yet, but, and although. Now one really quick tip I have is to switch up your sentence length and structure throughout your writing. This next tip is for punctuation. To fully maximize your score, you'll want to end each sentence with a period, an exclamation mark, or a question mark. And along with punctuation is capitalization. So when you start a new sentence, you'll want to capitalize the first letter of the first word. So here are some things that you'll want to capitalize to fully maximize your score. There's the first letter of a sentence, people's names, specific places, months, days, and titles in a name, for example, Dr. Jones. In another video, I broke down a perfect scoring GED essay, including the introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. So if you want to see an example of how to write a successful essay, I recommend watching that video. I'll put a link down below in the description. I really appreciate your time and hope this video was helpful, and I wish you the best of luck when you take your test.